Hello, everyone. Oh, I got my timing perfect today. If you're joining me live, welcome. Thank you so much for giving me your time and giving yourself time to deepen your understanding and to keep committing this energy to your growth and to your life. And I just love these Wednesdays and I love having you join me. If you are watching on YouTube, the recorded, also a huge welcome to you. And I would love it if you liked and subscribed. Thank you so much. So I have been so excited to chat to you guys. So in 2019, I think it was, I did my first San Pedro retreat. For those of you who don't know, San Pedro is a healing plant, a healing medicine plant. It's a cactus, and it's been used for thousands of years by shamans to really connect in with their own self and the spirit world and to gain a really deep understanding of the layers of self and of reality and of energy that we don't normally have access to when we are sober and in a normal state. So I did another retreat 2 weeks ago, and it's probably a good thing that I had a bit of a break. We had that public holiday last Wednesday, so I didn't do my live. It's probably a really good thing that I did not come live last Wednesday, because San Pedro is a very gentle but incredibly powerful medicine plant, and its effects last for quite a long time, and the unfolding of wisdom and shifts within yourself go on for quite a few days. So if I had been having this conversation with you guys last Wednesday, I would have been super chilled, super in my hippie state, and probably encouraging us all to do an online drum circle and meditation. So I'm a little bit more centered this week. So, wow. Now, when you do a San Pedro, you normally come in with some form of intention, right? And my intention, although having done the first one, I kind of was a little bit more open, because I realized that the plant takes you to where you need to go. And often we don't realize that. We're not even vaguely conscious of what it is that we need to heal on a much deeper level. And of course, that is exactly what happened to me. And I was quite taken back by the direction that my experience took me in. However, it was so beautifully necessary on my personal journey of unfolding and understanding and just becoming more and more and expanding more and more. And as I said, so this continuous healing process continues for a couple of days. And about 2 or 3 days after I'd come back, I had the most intense realization, and I was like, boom, that is the topic for today. So my childhood was quite challenging. There was a lot of difficulty, a lot of wounds, a lot of pain, which of course, Psychology 101 led me to do the work that I do now, because it's really been my, at the time when I was younger, I really wanted to escape the pain, and I wanted to figure out why I seemed to be stuck in so much of it. And obviously we all do this, and specifically with social media, we look around at other people and we're like, well, you seem to get it right and you have great relationships and successful work and everything else. What's wrong with me? So that's kind of like our default reaction, right? And in my quest to heal myself, I am a very practical person. I'm a very action-oriented person. And I also really, really appreciate knowledge. So in my personal quest when I was much younger, to try and heal myself, because I couldn't have relationships with people. I mean, I had relationships, but they were so either toxic or really shallow, or it was terrifying for me to share who I was. And I had this constant guard up and this constant facade of who I thought I had to be and who the world expected me to be. And it was just really a couple of years of absolute misery. So the reason I'm saying this to you is that because of my past experiences, I adopted, and right up to 2 weeks ago, I adopted this idea, even though I have family and I have family all over the world, that I was pretty much an orphan because I wasn't close to my family and I didn't feel like I had a connection to them. They didn't support me. We had no relationship. It was kind of like a happy birthday, Merry Christmas, and that was kind of it. And if we did engage with each other more than that, it was very surface level, and I didn't feel they knew me. So in my mind, my real family were my friends and the people in my tribe that I had built up over my lifetime. And what happened for me and what came up now in this last experience for me was I went off into the forest, my little hippie retreat. And I went up by myself, and the San Pedro ceremony and the San Pedro experience is very, very solemn. And although there's an immense amount of joy that comes from it, but it's a very sacred experience. And we are in silence for a number of hours. And during that silence period, something drew me to this beautiful forest where we were, and I went off down the path and I sat there. And what happened for me was, as I was sitting on this rock and just really being super happy, I felt this network underneath me, this incredible deep root system. Now, obviously, it started off with the actual roots of the forest, but then I realized that it was the roots of my family and the roots of my ancestors. And I not only saw, but I deeply, deeply felt this incredible lineage. And I saw all my ancestors that had come before me, and I saw that I exist because of them, because of my father, my mother, and going back into the dawn of time. And in that awareness and in my acceptance of that, I felt this incredible sense of belonging. Now, even though in this material, practical world that we live in on a day-to-day basis, I may not have that really close relationship with my family members, the point for me was I never felt connected to them. I never felt like I belonged to them. And the experience during the San Pedro of that sense of belonging, that I am not alone, that I am part of something bigger, was immensely beautiful on such a fundamental level. And that was great. And I thought, cool, well, that was the experience. I have to stop. I'm not alone. I'm not an orphan, so to speak. And it was a really beautiful experience for me. Fast forward a few days later, and I have this dream that wakes me awake, and I just put all the pieces together. And I was like, shit, how much, and this is the purpose of today's talk, how much have I been rejecting from my life because I rejected my family and my foundation? And then I saw all the pennies drop. And I looked back and I reflected back to all the transformations and the journeys and the struggles that I've personally been through, and that I witness with my clients when we are working together to get past their negative patterning and their wounds and their fears. There's this common thread, right? And it's always, why can't I feel seen? Why can't I feel validated? Why can't I feel appreciated? Why can't I have the trust and the faith that everything is going to work out? Why am I always living in fear? Why do I always get rejected? Why do I always get betrayed? Why am I always feeling like I'm getting less than what I am worth? Okay, these are very, very, very common human wounds and emotions and fears that every single one of us carry, okay? And myself included. And what I saw was, hang on a second, the same thing can't occupy the same space at the same time. So if I'm rejecting certain things, and we're going to talk about that, I can't accept them at the same time. Right. If I'm kicking something out, I can't at the same time expect it to come back in. And I saw that because I had lived the predominant amount of my life with this deep feeling of rejection, not only did I feel rejected because I didn't feel like I was part of a bigger family and community and things like that, but I rejected the fundamental qualities and gifts that came with family, that came with the sense of belonging and the sense of placement in the world. So if I'm going to reject, of which I did, I reject their philosophies. I reject the way they live their lives. I reject the fact that they are even my family. Yes, logically, you are my biological family member, But I had rejected them. I had said, well, I'm different to you and I'm doing my own thing and I'm going off my own path. And you've never been there for me and never supported me and you don't understand me. Therefore, fine, off you go, right? So there's fundamental rejection. But then if I'm rejecting all of that, how then could I accept support, love, acceptance, abundance, awesomeness, and a sense of peace, this deep, right sense of knowing and peace and like solidness? Because, sorry, I'm just reading my notes quickly. I had, on an unconscious level, said to myself, I'm unsupported by my family. But then on my day-to-day life, complained about the fact that I felt unsupported. So within relationships, as healthy as they were, there was always this underlying, can I accept that? Is there an ulterior motive? Do I need to pay it back? Do you know what I mean? So there are these layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of our makeup and our psyche and how we connect and accept. And what I saw so deeply was all of these wounds and these fears that we carry, and we are desperately trying to shift and to heal and question and identify. They are all coming, it's like a pyramid, right? These are the surface level things, like, oh, my work sucks and my relationship sucks and I can't make enough money and I don't know I can't trust myself to make the right decision, and all of these surface level things, right? And then they go down into this funnel. And when we are desiring to grow our confidence, to grow our peace, our happiness, everything, if we don't, the root system, if we don't come down to the fundamental well, right, where everything else is being watered from, then we're always going to, and we can shift little things in our life, but that base programming, that base direction is always going to resist us because we are resisting it. Okay. So when we are rejecting unconsciously, right, when there is a part of us that has rejected a different part of ourselves, right, whether it be family, whether it be our needs, our unmet, our unvoiced needs, whatever it is that we are rejecting, we are living in a place of not enough. I don't have enough. Because if we are rejecting something, we feel like we have to hold on to what we have because we don't feel we're getting enough. And when we are living in that scarcity feeling, never mind the mindset, the scarcity feeling, I'm never supported, I'm never loved, I don't belong, nobody understands me, right? That feeling. If that is based on scarcity, we're going to hold on to it tight, okay? And when we're holding on, we can't accept, okay? So before I move on, I want to just share with you the cards that I pulled today. And yet again, such a beautiful story. So what is this connection to belonging? Because on such a physiological, biological, psychological level, we are built to belong. We have to have it. And we can, exactly like I did, we can mentally logic our way out of the fact that we don't feel we belong. Right? Perhaps you speak a different language, you're a different race, you live in a different country, family issues, whatever the case may be. If you are living in a state where you feel that you don't quite fit in, that you don't quite belong, it goes against our absolute programming of what we are. Okay, it's like trying to tell a plant that it's a lion. It's like it doesn't work. And we thrive. We come alive, we thrive, we need it. Our very cells are healthier and they work better. And the system that is us functions correctly when we belong and when we stop rejecting others and ourselves. So I just want to share this. All right. So family, community, belonging. All right. And I thought that was just such a beautiful representation of what we need, what we truly are, and what we all yearn for. And coming back to that yearning and what we reject, I'm going to come back to that as well. So I spoke about the scarcity mindset, and when we reject things, and we can't both reject and accept at the same time. You can't reject support and then expect support. You can't reject love and then expect love. You can't reject abundance and then expect abundance. And if we are holding on and guarding ourselves and protecting ourselves and refusing to admit these needs, like I've just said, these unmet needs, we hold on, right? Look at her. She is holding on to what she has. And if you hold on so tightly, you have blocked off vulnerability, creativity, connection, love, you name it. Okay. So someone's knocking at the door. My dog's about to start barking. Another thing that came up for me is this integration. Now, every wound, every pain that we have experienced throughout our life becomes something like this. Okay, we hold on, we hide ourselves from the feeling of that wound. We hide the wound from others. We hide it even from our own awareness and from our own willingness to admit that it even exists. Okay, because we don't want to be imperfect. We don't want to show weakness. We don't want to be taken advantage of. And so we hide our wounds, we hide our needs. Now, inner child work is something that I work with a lot with my clients. I've done an extensive amount myself. And the reason why inner child work is so important is because easy. Waiting for Diesel to stop barking. Okay. The reason why inner child work is so important is because our wounds become little parts of us that have been rejected. All right. Diesel. Sorry. So these parts of us that have been rejected, that we have either rejected ourselves or we feel have been rejected by others, okay, become these little separate entities. And either at the time we were too young or we didn't have the capacity to deal with that situation, to deal with that wound, that experience at the time, and therefore we kind of put it in a little package and we put it away, right? We hold on to it or we reject it. Now, another thing that I saw this weekend about this connection to our ancestors and this need for all of us to belong and to know that we belong, right? So that we can feel safe, we can feel good. In terms of the inner child, all the work that I've done to date was always build a relationship with your inner child. See the wounds, feel the wounds, bring back what was unaccepted, bring back what was too painful, right? So that we can become whole and confident and powerful in our actions, our thoughts, our relationships, and everything else. But what I saw was, in all the work I've done with myself, this inner child was so separate, right? It's like, I see you. I see my 5-year-old self, 10-year-old self, 15, 20, 25, whatever the case may be. I see that part of me. And once the relationship is built and once acceptance and forgiveness has been worked through, you're able to accept and love. Here's the kicker, that it was still separate. And the thing is, anything that we separate from ourselves cannot be integrated. And what I felt in that moment, in that forest clearing, when I really felt those root systems, not only of the planet of which we are so deeply connected to, but of my family and of my ancestors and of my personal history, I saw that it is genuinely one beautiful system. And when that system is whole, we are able to live with purpose, with peace, with happiness, with incredible satisfaction, fulfillment, all those good things, because we are one. If we are rejecting, I want you to picture this tree, and I want you to picture a branch that has been torn off and put on the side, and all the leaves have been torn off and over there. How can the tree function? It can't. We cannot gain sustenance, from the sun, and we cannot draw what we need from the earth, through our roots. We can't drink, we can't get the water, we can't get anything. So it's very difficult when you have with good reason, rejected certain things in your life. And I really want to focus on this family aspect today. If your family were very abusive, very toxic, genuinely abandoned you, it is so difficult to even want to reconnect to them. And that's why we have to separate these different layers that I spoke about. I'm not suggesting and I'm not asking you to build relationships with people who are unable to build a healthy relationship back. If they have not grown, if they are still very toxic, perhaps have even passed away. This is not surface level connection, right? You don't have to have a daily interaction with them. Certainly if they're still toxic, if the pain that they caused you is too much, you don't have to have that. But what you do have to have for you and only for you and for your own wholeness, to be a whole tree so that you can grow and flourish as much as possible, is you have to accept that you are part of them. You have to accept it all. And in that acceptance comes the feeling of connection. That feeling of connection is so vital to our functioning. If we are not connected, how can we be involved? How can we be involved in our life? How can we be involved even in our own decisions, trust our own decisions, involved in our relationships where we are genuinely present, genuinely connected, vulnerable, open, sharing? And I suppose it depends on how deep you want to go and how far you want to take your expansion. And it requires bravery. It requires huge bravery and a complete abandonment of ego. And that's a tough one, right? Because we identify with our wounds, we identify with our story, Well, in my case, I was rah, look at me, I'm so independent. By 16, I was doing my thing. And that was a strength that I liked about myself. It was a strength that I relied on heavily. But by the same token, if I'm going to rely on that solitary strength, of which I did, how then can I get upset if I'm not feeling supported, seen, validated, accepted, etc. In my life? Because we can't have one or the other. And I think as some takeaways today, I think what you should do is start off with a list, write down, be very conscious and write down exactly what it is you feel you are lacking. I feel like I'm lacking direction. I feel like I'm lacking support. I feel like nobody knows me. I feel like I'm lacking love. Whatever those lacks are, right? That idea of scarcity. Whatever you feel you are lacking, write it down and then see what inside of you has been rejected, what you have rejected in others. And start with your family. So if you feel a lack of love, go to mother, father, not the actual people on that layer, not the actual people, but within you. Go to father, mother, and accept their love. Super hard if there has been abuse and neglect and abandonment and very painful experiences and memories. I repeat, you do not have to do this in person with the person, but within yourself, you have to accept their love so that within you and within the broader spectrum of your life, you can accept love. You have to accept that they are father, mother, so that you know that you have a right to exist, that you have a right to be born. Because if you don't accept them, you will never claim your full birthright. And if you don't claim your full birthright, how can you possibly claim your power, your success, all the goodness that is out there and that is due to you? Super loud in the house today. I know this is really hard work and it's taken me 41 years to get to that level. And I've done an enormous amount of healing work within a child, within myself, within family, and I have a good relationship now with my actual family. But I still felt that I had let me tell you exactly how I felt. I'm like, well, I have a good relationship with them because I see them as people and not father, mother. Therefore, it's easy for me because I have no expectations. Because if I expect them to be father, mother, I'm going to open myself up to disappointment and wounds, and I'm not prepared to do that, right? And in the last 2 weeks, on the retreat, I really saw that was not serving me. It wasn't serving me. I had to accept. And it was an experience that I hope you all feel, because it has been rejuvenating and grounding and expansive on incredible levels. And just to share with you, I waited 2 days to come back to my normal state, and I called my mother, and I probably had the most open and honest discussion that I've had with her probably our entire life, my entire life and our entire relationship. And it was so beautiful, and it was simple. And I just said, Mom, I've decided that you are my mother, and I accept your love, and I accept that you do love me, and that's okay. And I may not agree with how she loves me. I may not agree with how she expresses it. And obviously, we all want people to do things differently, even within our romantic relationships, as parents, children, we all want people to treat us in a different way to how they would normally do it. So there's always going to be some level of disappointment or missed expectations, whatever the case is. But when it comes to the father-mother wounds, it is big and it is fundamental, and we have got to heal it. Okay. So I really hope that this has opened a doorway of inquiry for you. I really hope that you go back and examine this core relationship within you. It is the one that produces the most amount of wounds within us, and it is where we will find the most amount of healing. So make that list, and then go in within yourself and feel for the answers, and choose to reconnect to your ancestors, to your family, to your root system, so that you can grow. If your root system is not healthy and functioning properly, you're not going to grow. So I'm probably going to watch this video in like 6 months' time and go, shit, I was still high as a cat. But thank you so much for watching. Yeah, Angelica is sharing, healing those wounds hurts, but it grows you the best. So I think I'm going to question that. Healing the wounds doesn't hurt. Accepting the wounds exist hurts. That's the first barrier. It's hard because we spend a lifetime rejecting it, rejecting the people, rejecting the experiences, rejecting all of it, right? And that's the first hurdle, and that's where it is hard, super hard. But there are so many brave, beautiful souls out there who are doing this work, Angelica being one of them. And the rewards are immense. The rewards are immense. Okay, so pulls and quick fixes don't work. This fundamental acceptance and willingness to be vulnerable, willingness to be childlike in your curiosity, be childlike in your joy, in your experience of life, and accept that there is a child within you that has to belong. It has to be part of something. Okay. Hard and scary, yeah. All right, thank you so much, everybody, for your time and your presence. And I look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday. And sorry for the noise and the interruptions. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Go out there and, yeah, be vulnerable. It's worth it. Okay, bye.